this class, we want to grab a couple of blocks and maybe a yoga strap. If you want a blanket for a little more comfort, you can go ahead and use that too. But we're going to come down onto our backs for just a moment to do some breathing and some gentle movement. So go ahead and lay flat, letting the arms fall out to the side, and try to soften the shoulders down, melting them into the floor. Inhale deeply and exhale completely. Begin to deepen the breath, breathing into the lower parts of the rib cage, the deep parts of your lungs. And once you feel like you've filled up those lungs as much as possible, begin to slow your exhale. Step your feet out to the edges of your yoga mat and just let the knees fall in together. Stretching out the outer hips. Let go, let go, let go. And then release the knees, walking the feet in to the middle of your mat. Let the soles of the feet touch as you let the knees fall open. Take a deep breath in. Exhale to let go a little more. Reclined cobbler's pose. Nice restorative pose, just stretching out the inner thighs. And then let the knees come back up to center. Walk your feet out so that they're in line with the hips. Press the palms into the ground as you send the hips up toward the ceiling for your first bridge pose of the day. Keep lifting, 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 holding. Take a couple more breaths here. On your next exhale, begin to lower it down one spinal segment at a time until the tailbone is the very last thing that comes down to the ground. Go ahead and hug your knees up and into your chest, peeling the forehead up to the knees. Squeeze, 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 holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue hugging your right leg as you extend the left leg out, lowering it down with control to the floor. Hugging your knee into the chest, letting the head come down to the ground if it isn't already. Begin to lower that leg down and out to the side. So guiding that knee down toward the floor. And then release to come back through center, taking that knee across the body. Arm can come out into a half T position. Just a gentle spinal twist and outer hip stretch. And then release to come back through center. Continue hugging that knee and rolling out the ankle. So we're drawing big circles with the toe. Moving with intention here. Really explore those movements of the ankles and the feet. And then reverse your direction, going the other way. Hug both knees into the chest. Peel your forehead up to meet the knees, or toward the knees. And we're squeezing, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue hugging your left knee now and extend that right leg out, lowering it down with control to the ground. Let the head rest on the floor and begin to breathe, exhaling, letting go. And then draw that left knee down to the ground. So we're kind of bringing it down and out to the left side. And then let's come back up through center, taking a gentle spinal twist. Arm can come out into a T position. Taking that knee across the body. Let go with every exhale. And then release it to come back through center. Hugging that left knee, begin to make circles with that toe, just exploring the range of the motion of the ankle. And then reverse your direction. Place both feet flat on the ground. Bend the knees. Crisscross your right foot over the left knee and gently press that knee away from you. Take the arms out into a T position and keep that knee in the same position that it was when you let go. Begin to rock the knee from side to side. Cradling the leg. And then release, catching the back of the thigh. Inhale, straighten the knee, draw the toes up to the shins to create length in the back of the leg. Exhale to bend the knee and point the toe. Inhale, lift and draw the toes up. Exhale, bend and point the toe. And we're just flowing between these two motions, trying to create length in the back of the leg. Release the foot to the floor and crisscross left foot over right knee, guiding your knee away from you to open up at the hip. Keep your knee in that position and take the arms out into a T. Rock and cradle the knee from side to side. Then release to come back through center. Catching the back of the thigh, we're going to inhale, straighten the knee, draw the toes up to the shin. Exhale to bend the knee and point the toe. Let's flow between these two motions for a few breaths here. Excellent job. Release that foot down to the ground. And as we move with intention here, move with ease over into child's pose. So take the knees out as wide as the edges of your mat. Sink the hips back down onto the heels and let the forehead melt into the ground below you. Let the hips sink. And rock the forehead from side to side to loosen up the neck. Massage the forehead. And then find a moment of stillness here, taking a few deep breaths. Feeling that belly as it presses into the thighs with the inhale. And as you exhale, you sink into this pose a little deeper. Press up onto the fingertips overhead. Engage the back of the shoulders and peel your forehead off of the mat. Begin to walk your fingertips off to the right side of your mat. And let's anchor that left hip down to the ground. Go ahead and take a peek up and underneath that arm. And then let's walk it back through center, rooting that right hip down to the ground, taking a peek up and underneath that right arm. And then let's walk it back through center, press your way up into tabletop and bring the knees underneath the hips. Spread your fingertips out as wide as they'll go and drop that belly down. Inhale to look up. And then exhale to round the spine, look down. See if you can get that rounding to occur in the low back and throughout that abdomen. Find a moment of stillness here. Shift the hips off to the right side of your mat. Take the gaze over the right shoulder to look at the hip. Come back through center. Bump the hips off to the left, taking the gaze over the left shoulder. And just alternating here, right and left. And find some stillness here. We're rooting down into the left hand. Inhale, float the right arm up for a gentle twist. And as you exhale, we're threading the arm through, taking the right ear down to the mat. Thread the needle, square off your hips. Breathe into that shoulder space. Press into that left hand to unwind from the twist, floating that right hand up to the ceiling, and then exhale to release that hand down to the ground. Other side, float that left hand up overhead to twist, exhale to release, threading that needle. Take your left ear down to your mat, square off your hips, and breathe into that heart space. Press into the right hand to unwind from your twist. Inhale to sweep the left arm up, and then exhale to release. Great job. So we're stacking both blocks on top of each other in the middle of your mat. Okay. So stretching out our lats, kind of the sides of the low back. Place both elbows on top of the stacked blocks. And keep your elbows planted there, palms face each other as you send the hips down and back. You can tuck your toes. That's a little more comfortable. Drop the chest down, creating that arch in the spine. Holding for a couple more breaths here, just easing your way into this pose. If this is causing you any discomfort in the shoulder, come out of it by coming up onto the knees a little more. Press up onto the knees and elbows, moving your hands off the blocks, and move your blocks to the top of your mat. Walk the fingers forward, index fingers face the front of your mat. Tuck the toes and hover the knees for a moment, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Softly lower the knees back down to the ground. Keep the toes tucked, send the hips up and back, diving the chest down. Alternate pedaling out right heel, left heel. And then find a moment of stillness, straightening both knees. Heels do not need to be down to the ground, but keep that spine nice and long. Take the gaze up between the hands and shift your shoulders over the wrists for high plank. Pressing the floor away from you, engaging the core, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and bend both knees, taking them down to the ground. Left leg steps up into a lunge position. Okay. Inhale to sweep both arms up overhead. Engage that glute of the right hip. Exhale to cactus the arms, drawing the elbows down, lifting the chest up. And then inhale to reach up and let go. Take the hands down to your hips and let's heel toe that left foot off the edge of your mat. Almost like your knee is kind of at an angle. Go ahead and reach your right arm up and over for a side body stretch. Getting into the psoas, so the hip flexor and that right abdomen. And then release to come back up through center. Heel toe that foot back into the middle. Grab onto your yoga blocks. And we're coming into half splits pose by shifting the hips back, extending that front leg and flipping up the toes. You can use your blocks on the tall side to press into to lift that upper body. Exhale to hinge forward at the hips. Continue to keep your chest lifted, keeping that knee straight. So 2 things to avoid here. If you have to bend your knee, that means that you've gone a little too far, so it's okay to raise the upper body. Also, if you're rounding your spine just to get a little deeper into the pose, come out of it, lift the chest up, and then just hinge gently at the hip. Rock the foot from side to side, exploring what that feels like in the back of your leg. You notice different tension lines. Great, and then release to come back up through center, sending the hips forward, bending that front knee. Other side, swing that left leg behind you and step your right foot forward. Growing tall through the crown of the head, sweep the arms up. Engage that back glute and heel toe the right foot off to the edge of your mat. Take the right hand down to the hip and extend that left arm up and over. Take a moment to breathe here, stretching out your psoas, and then release to come back up through center. Let's heel toe your foot back into the middle of your mat. Extending the hips back, flipping the front toes for half splits pose. Press into the blocks on their tall side to lift up. Keep the chest proud as you hinge forward at the hips. Gaze is forward, knee is straight, even if that means you have to come out of that pose a little bit. Couple more breaths here. Begin to rock the foot from side to side. Exploring what that feels like in the back of your leg. And then bending that front knee, shifting your weight forward. Blocks off the mat. We're going to tuck that back toe to hover the knee. Feet are on railroad tracks here. We're going to sweep the arms up overhead. Staying strong in that front thigh, squeezing those glutes. Extend your back leg. For crescent lunge, and then pivoting on that back heel to open it up into our warrior two. You might need to heel toe your feet back in line. We're going to flip the front palm up to the ceiling. Exhale, reverse warrior. Take your back hand to your back knee. And then come on up. Warrior two, taking the front elbow to front knee for our extended side angle. Coming back up into our warrior two. Release the hands to the hips and pivot on that foot so that we're facing the side of your mat, coming into 5-pointed star. So reach those fingertips up. Toes can turn out slightly. Exhale to hinge forward at the hips, taking hands to hips. Hands can come down to floor, or you can use the block to bring the floor up to you. Wherever you are, we want a nice long spine. Root that right hand down into your block and inhale to float the left hand up. Try to level off the hips though. And then release that hand down to your block. Inhale to float the right hand up. And then release to the floor. Back foot, so that left foot turns out to face the back of your mat. We're going to roll it up. Hands can come to hips for a moment and bend that back knee. So we're finding our warrior two on the other side. Sink down into that thigh. Flip your palm, exhale, reverse warrior, taking the back hand to the straight knee. Come back up through warrior two, taking elbow to knee and extending that arm overhead. Extended side angle, sink it down. And then pivot on your back foot, squaring off both hips to the front of the mat, or the back of the mat rather. Sink down, down, down. Sweep both hands up overhead and sink it down into crescent lunge here, straightening that back knee, driving the back heel down to the ground. Draw the belly into the spine. And then let's pivot on the back foot to find our warrior two once again. Hands can come to hips as you straighten that knee and spiral around to face the side of your mat. Allow the toes to turn out slightly. Inhale to sweep the arms overhead, and then exhale, bend both knees, coming down into goddess pose, arms in field goal post position. It's a tongue twister. Draw the belly button into the spine to tuck the tailbone. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. Sink down into those thighs for a moment. Hold, breathe. Take both hands to heart center and then straighten those knees. Heel toe both feet into the center of your mat, and we'll work our way back up to the top of our mat. Okay, so a little bit of balance here. Shift your weight onto the right foot. We're finding tree pose, so find that drishti or that focal point in front of you. Take the sole of the foot either to the lower shin, upper shin, or inner thigh. Wherever you are and whatever feels good today, we're pressing the knee open, lifting up and out of that hip. When you get there, we can reach the arms out to grow your branches tall. Excellent job. If you fall out of it, come right back in. Spiral the knee to face forward, hover that foot, half staff pose. Exhale, airplane arms, meaning the arms extend back behind you. Hinge forward at the hips as you extend the left leg back. Warrior three variation. And then exhale, lower that foot down to the ground. Excellent job. Go ahead and shake that leg off. Shifting your weight onto the left leg now, take the sole of the foot to the inner shin or the inner thigh, whatever feels good. Find that drishti and that focal point. rooting down into the ground through the foot, but lifting tall through the crown of the head. Once you find some stability in this pose, you can grow your branches out. Spiral the knee to face forward and hover that foot. Exhale, hinge forward at the hips, airplane arms back behind you, driving that heel toward the back of your mat. Warrior 3 variation. Exhale, release that foot to the ground. Come on up to a standing position. Sweeping the arms forward, sink the hips down and back. Finding your chair pose, draw the belly in toward the spine here to flatten out the low back. Try to relax the shoulders away from your ears. Take a moment to reach overhead. And then exhale to bring the hands to heart center, returning, hooking the elbow to the knee. Gentle spinal twist, keep that knee in line with the other. Breathe. If you want to take this a little more, you can open up the arms to deepen your twist. And then release, taking hands to heart center, come back through the middle. Other side, hooking that elbow to the outside of the knee, deepening your twist, trying to keep that left knee in line with the right. Open up the arms if you want a little more. And then hands to heart center, release that twist. Inhale, come on up to a flat back, straightening the knees and elongating the spine from the crown of the head all the way down to the tailbone. Exhale, bend the knees, taking the hands down to the floor, stepping back, right foot, left foot for high plank. And then send the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Pedal your heels out, alternating right and left. Lowering those knees down to the ground for a moment. Take a couple of rounds of cat-cow, so stack your shoulders over the wrists. And notice the differences in cat-cow now compared to when you started the practice. Go ahead and sit down on your hip, and let's come into a wide-legged seated position. So both toes turn upward, both knees upward. So quads are active. We're stretching the inner thigh and the hamstrings. So inhale to lift up, exhale to hinge forward at the hips, walking those fingertips forward. And then begin walking those fingertips up, bending your right knee, taking the sole of the foot into the thigh. Back of the hand comes inside the knee, reach that left arm up and over for a nice side body stretch, twisting, looking up and underneath the arm. Coming back up to seated, root that right hand behind you, and then sweep the left arm up, sending the hips up. For a little back bend here, getting some weight bearing in the shoulders, stretching in the hips. And then release the hips back down to the floor. Other side, sole of the foot comes inside. Back of the hand inside the knee, reach the left arm up and over for a nice side body stretch. Really elongating the right side or the left side of the body. And then release to come back up, rooting that left hand behind you. Sweep your right arm up and hips up. Gentle back bend here. And then release the hips to the ground. We're going to take both soles of the feet together. So it's your choice. We can have the soles of the feet away from the body or pretty close to the body. Whatever feels good. And ground down. So really pressing those elbows down into the knees, but keep your chest lifted. Continue to hold here. I'm going to hold for about 5 breaths. You can opt for giving yourself a little foot massage. So it's nice, a nice opportunity to just get into the fascia of the feet. Showing our feet a little love. And then we can extend the legs out long again, pressing the palms down into the ground to lift the hips up slightly to reset the spine. Inhale to lift up, exhale to hinge forward, forward, forward at the hips. You might find that you could go a little deeper this time. We don't need to. If you have access to putting the elbows on the ground, you can go ahead. Continue to hold for a couple more breaths. And then walk your way back up. We're going to swing the leg around, finding a long seated position, flipping both toes up toward the ceiling. Inhale to grow tall through the crown of the head and exhale to hinge forward at the hips. Maybe you can grasp onto the outer edges of the shins, the back of the knees, maybe the feet or toes, whatever feels good. We want to keep the spine lifted though, or keep the chest lifted and the spine long. Ease into this breath. And then walk the hands up the shin so you can come out of that forward fold. And let's bend the left knee. We're going to sit tall through the crown of the head, cross that foot over. Go ahead and take a twist, kickstanding the left hand back behind you. You can hook the elbow onto the knee to deepen your twist. If we take that variation though, remember that the back hand is just a kickstand. We're not putting too much weight on it. And then release that twist, extending that, or uncrossing your foot. Keep it hugged into the chest here. Sit up tall and hover that right leg off the ground. We're going to draw some circles in a clockwise direction for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then reverse the direction for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Softly lower that leg down to the ground. Now you can extend that left leg long. We're going to hug the right knee into the chest now. Sitting up tall, we can crisscross that foot over the knee and rotate around so that we're kickstanding that hand behind you. If you want, you can hook the elbow to the knee to deepen your twist. And then release that twist, uncross the leg, but keep it hugged into your body. And hover the left leg off of the ground. We're going to draw some circles for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then reverse your direction for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good job. You can release. If you have your yoga strap available, you can grab that right now. But we're actually going to flip over onto our bellies for a moment. So the nice thing about the yoga strap is that we can give yourself a little loop here. So you might need to adjust the strap to do so. Yep, okay. And then we're going to make our way onto our bellies. So coming into half bow pose, we're going to loop the strap around the top of your foot, okay? So getting your yoga strap over the shoulder, we can let the forehead come down to the ground, get your knee in line with the hip. Go ahead and bend that knee, just giving yourself a little tug. So this is a really nice quad stretch. The nice thing about this too is that you don't have to come into a back bend to do so. Now, to access a little more out of this, go ahead and press your pubic bone down into the mat, and you'll feel a gentle tugging up in the top of the thigh. Continue to hold that and breathe. We're going to go for about 5 more breaths here before switching over to the other side. And then release that knee. And we might need to come around so that we can loop that strap around the other foot. Okay. Working your way back onto the belly. Trying to get that yoga strap to stay. All right. So gently pulling up on that foot. Okay, aligning the knee with the hip. So we don't want the knee drifting off too far to the side. So pull it right into the midline. You can relax your head and pull that heel up towards your bottom. Engage your glutes by pressing the pubic bone down into the ground to deepen the stretch. And we're here and holding for a few more breaths. And then go ahead and release the foot. You can move that yoga strap off to the side. And moving with intention, roll over onto the back. Okay. All right. So bending both knees, draw the belly into the spine. So we're trying to flatten out that low back. Send both feet up to the ceiling. And begin to lower the right leg down before the back pops up off of the ground. Come on up. Left leg lowers down. Try to keep that back nice and flat. It gets harder as you get lower to the ground. And then back up. We're going to alternate right and left here. Just engaging the abdominal muscles. Try to keep the neck and jaw soft. One more on each side. You got this. You're stronger than you think. And then go ahead and hug the knees into the chest. Release the feet to the floor, taking the feet out as wide as the edges of your yoga mat. Arms can come out into a T position. And begin to rock the knees from side to side. Great job. Find your center here, heel toeing the feet back into the middle of the mat. You can take that yoga strap. Now that you have a loop in it, you can loop that around the ball of the right foot. Go ahead and draw the toes up to the shin, keeping that knee straight. So if that means that you have to lower the leg down a little bit to keep the knee straight, please do so. Continue to hold and breathe, deepening that stretch with every exhale. And then grabbing onto the strap with your right hand, begin to lower that leg down and out to the side, rooting the left hip to the ground to engage the core. Plug your right shoulder in so we're not hanging out on the joints. And then release to come back up, up, up through center, stepping your left foot up into that yoga strap so we can take the other side. Drawing the toes up to the shins, create length throughout the back of the leg. You're going to lower that left leg down and out to the side, anchoring the right hip to the ground. Plug in your right shoulder. And then let's release to come back up through center, bending that knee. You can move that yoga strap off to the side. Excellent. Taking your knees close together, we're going to lower them both down to the right side. Arms out in a T position. Take the gaze down the left arm. For a gentle twist here. And then come back up through center. Let's take the other side. Take your gaze down the right arm. And then release back through center. Walking your heels up toward your seat. Press the palms into the ground. Inhale, press the hips up to the ceiling. Go ahead and lace your fingers together if that feels comfortable, and walk your shoulder blades together. So you're shifting over to the left shoulder blade to tuck in your right shoulder blade, and then shift over to your right shoulder blade to tuck the left under. Squeeze the glutes, elevate them up toward the ceiling. And breathe, expanding across the chest. Release the hands. Exhale, lowering down one spinal segment at a time until the tailbone is the last thing that wants to come down to the ground. Now, taking a moment here for your Shavasana, your final resting pose. If you need any other stretch or any other pose, go ahead and take it. If you would like to get something warm for your feet, maybe a jacket, you can go ahead and grab that. And whenever you're ready, just begin to settle in, extending that right leg out long and that left leg out long. Letting the arms fall where they're comfortable. Take a deep inhale and exhale to let go. Take your attention all the way down to the toes. Wiggle all 10 toes, squeeze all 10 toes, and release to let go. Feel the contact of the heels on the floor beneath you. Feel that groundedness and that connection. Same for the calves. Feel those calf muscles anchored down to the ground below you. Feeling the support of the earth. Knowing that you're secure, stable. Feel the weight of the hips as they sink down into the ground. Relax the tops of the thighs. Relax the pelvic floor. Relax the abdomen and the low back. Draw your attention to that energy that you've just created throughout the low back, the hips, even in that core. This is the essence of your being, your root. It's what keeps us grounded and connected to this plane, this earth. And then take your attention to the chest area. Feeling that expanding and contracting with every breath. Continuously breathing in love and exhaling love. Feel the shoulders as they melt down into the ground, releasing tension in the arms, the forearms, and letting it all go through the hands and fingertips. Allowing the fingertips to curl slightly, but relax. Release the neck, release the shoulders. Soften your jaw and wiggle it from side to side for a moment. Just releasing any tension at the jaw. Relax the temples. Unfurrow the brow. And let your eyelids become so heavy that the eyeballs start to sink into their sockets. Now imagine a white light, the crown of the head. This white light can be whatever you need it to be. Peace, relaxation, focus, presence. Whatever that is for you. Guide that white light slowly down the body, filling up every cell, every space between your cells with that white light. And it will move slowly and deliberately through the body, nourishing every bit of your existence. Till that white light releases at the sole of the feet and reconnects you back to the earth. Sit for a moment with that nourishment and focus on your breath. When you feel ready, you can begin to make small movements with the fingers and the toes, rolling the wrists, rolling the ankles. Bend both knees and roll over onto one side, letting yourself remain heavy as you press yourself up to a seated position. Once you get there, root down into those sits bones, feeling that strength of your core, your hips, your essence. Grow tall through the crown of the head and bring the hands to heart center. Gently tucking the chin. And may there be peace in your thoughts, in your words, and in your heart. And from my heart to yours, namaste.